Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and the governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Southborough Stewardship Committee will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with the right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the Town of Southborough's website. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to watch or participate in the meeting may do so in the following manner by finding the meeting at the Southborough Town website for remote meetings. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so despite best efforts, we will post on Southborough's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. So I'm calling this meeting to order at 6:35. We have present myself, Joyce Greenleaf, Freddie Gillespie, Jim Force, Catherine Craddock McKee, Jenny Pete, and Melissa Danza. So our first item is approving the minutes. So thank you, Jim, for getting those out. Did anyone have any corrections or additions? I'm seeing Kat shake her head no. I did not.
I do.
Okay, Freddie, what do you got?
Let me find my document. Oh my God.
Sure.
January 27th, right?
Yep.
Okay. Go down to end of year mow.
Yep.
It should say Twin Pines started the mow,
Oh.
but it snowed.
And there's still snow.
And you can leave the tractor piece out because he had to have that to start the mow. And to
Okay.
say he hopes to complete the mow when the snow is gone.
Okay.
Remaining apple trees. I want to make clear that sounds like there's an estimate, like a cost estimate, which wasn't the case. How about Orchardist has new estimate of number of trees, add number of trees.
Okay.
Because I don't want to make it sound like we have some money estimate.
Okay.
And then under Beecology Garden,
Yep.
I want it to say Freddie has a meadow professional.
Meadow professional.
How about what do they call it? A horticulture? What do you call it when you're in the landscape business? What's the term?
Yeah, horticulturalist.
A horticulturist specializing in meadows who is working with her pro bono on the Beecology research meadow, not field.
Meadow.
And research.
Okay.
And that was it for me. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of January 27th, 2021 as amended. Unless someone else had other amendments.
I second the motion. This is Jenny.
Okay, so Freddie made the motion to accept as amended. Seconded, all in favor. Jim?
I favor.
Kat?
Yes, in favor.
Freddie?
In favor.
Jenny?
Favor.
And I am in favor, so the motion passes. Thank you. So I queued up as the second item, the proposal from the graduate student. Melissa, is she in the waiting room?
Yep, she's just loading in now.
Oh, okay. Kim, welcome. Can you hear me? Okay, I think you might be muted. Can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me now?
Oh, now I can, yep. Thank you for your materials. We just got to that point in the agenda where we will discuss it. I hope everyone had a chance to look at it. So it included the proposal itself with the timeline and then some examples of the kinds of birdhouses that might be part of what we would get. And then the thing I didn't print out was the Excel spreadsheet, which I think was a more elaborate timeline. Yeah, so I didn't print that because I couldn't figure out how to print it easily. What questions do we have from the committee for Kim? Yes, Kat.
So first I want to say thank you. It was wonderful. I enjoyed reading the paper as well as going through the slideshow. It was really awesome to get those visuals. I just have two questions. One is for the statuettes, have you considered how they would be thief-proof? Like how would we prevent them from being, removed from the forest?
Yeah.
And then the second question is the birdhouses. I'm assuming we would need to, and I'd be happy to volunteer to maintain them after each season, just to clean them out and make sure that they're, and so I guess my question would be as far as, height and being able to place them in an area that we could get to, if you had thought about some of those ideas.
Yeah, sure. So for the birdhouses, height for placement will kind of vary species for species. So I'd love to try and do that to accommodate the different birds, but for the most part, they should be all put on trees or on posts at a height that would be reachable by a ladder. And I'm trying to design all of them so that they either have a front panel that is removable so that they can be cleaned, or a side panel that is removable so that they may be cleaned. They should all be made out of what's basically dead wood. So some kind of just unfinished wood. Right now I've been using old repurposed plywood that's untreated, and just untreated like cedar 2x4s and stuff like that. And then everything on top will just be all of the kind of natural fun adages. So they shouldn't get in the way of being able to take them on and off at all. And then as for the statuettes, definitely that's been something on my mind of how do we put them there, but then not have people steal them if they look nice. One thought to consider, or I was originally considering, was for some of them that are maybe like closer to the ground, we could put almost like a camping spike on it so that it kind of spikes into the ground. That was a thought. I had considered maybe like some of them could also be kind of screwed into the trees. Like if it was a bird, it could kind of also be on the tree. I'm kind of grappling back and forth and trying to think of some more good ideas, because that is something that's been on my mind. Like, how do we put these in the forest and, get people to interact with them, but not have them also steal them, because a lot of kids will just pick something up and run.
Yeah, especially if they're attractive, as I'm sure your item is going to be. So thank you very much. I really appreciated the way that you laid that out, and the opportunities that we have to the collateral, the materials that we can then build off of the statuettes and the birdhouses. I really appreciated reading through that too. Thank you.
Freddie, yes?
Hi. Is it possible at all for you to bring up on your screen the wonderful depictions of the art? Actually, I'm not going to call them birdhouses. The beautiful artwork. And is that possible? Can you do that, Joyce, or can?
I can't, but Melissa, can you? Because I sent it to Melissa.
Okay.
I don't know.
Which one do you want open? Sorry.
There was 3 documents in that email, and it's the one with the diagrams of the birdhouses.
Okay. Yep. Hold on.
And I admit I didn't read it as thoroughly as I would have wished before asking this question. But my concern, I love the art, and I think why I want them up there is so people can see how beautiful these are. My question is, my knowledge is that different birds have different requirements,
Yes.
and I wasn't sure what birds these are for, because when you're in the forest, it's different than like the bluebird houses, and also that you have to or it's recommended, at least in some, that if you have a certain size hole for a small bird, that you have to put like metal so that a bird that it's not meant for can't enlarge the hole.
Yes.
And then that I'm not sure if it described it, but that they are able to easily be open. And one of the things that's kind of creepy is that cleaning birdhouses maintenance is often recommended also during the breeding season when a non-targeted species nests there. We haven't really done that at Breakneck Hill. I was participant of being with a bird expert who was talking about it for me, and he removed a non-native bird's nest out of one of the bluebird nest houses. I don't know if that's anything we want to be even thinking about, but anyhow. Melissa, can you scroll down just so people can see this? I think this is page 3 of 14. Yeah, like, I mean, I'm just enthralled and in love with these, and not the blue one so much.
Oh, I liked it. But I know what you mean. I do like all the natural ones.
I'm sorry. Oh, and I love I don't know how long they would last, but those dragonflies would be an amazing project for kids to make.
Oh, I know.
Cute.
Oh my God.
I was thinking the same thing, just like how kids could see these and then they could go home and make their own.
Or we could have a dragonfly
Workshop.
day at the property for kids to bring the dragonflies they made and put them around.
Yeah,
So much better than the rocks.
I agree.
Yeah, and to add on to Freddie's point about the species, like, I mean, I've certainly been around the bird boxes at Breakneck Hill, which we largely have there for bluebirds, which I've also tried to attract in my yard. So I know some about what those boxes are. So what in the temp forest, what would be the species that we would be targeting?
So I spoke about it a little bit in the proposal, but I don't recall, since it's been a bit now, if I went into it too much, but depending on the forested area and kind of what sort of trees they are, generally in Southborough, we tend to get a good amount of backyard birds. So we can do actually a bunch of different houses for a variety of species. So I had planned to try and shoot for maybe 8 to 10 houses. And they could be a few different varieties of houses that could accommodate various different species, because birds kind of cluster in, I guess what I'll call like housing groupings. So you have like wrens and finches and, like swallows that kind of like smaller houses, almost closer to the bluebirds with the smaller openings. And then, of course, you could do a few houses. I was thinking about for like the red-bellied woodpeckers and some of the woodpeckers that nest around the area. They like a little bit of a bigger opening. I was thinking about trying to do one that was a much substantially larger one with a bigger opening that could be for some of the owls that nest in the area. Because I know that we've had a few owls, and I've even heard a few of them in my backwoods myself. And then there's we could do 1 or 2 for what's called, they like to be called like open platform nesters. So those are more like the pigeons and the doves that you see around. They kind of like, and sometimes robins too, they kind of like more almost like a faux steeple or barn kind of open platform nesting.
Are they in the forested areas? I don't recall seeing pigeons so much Under bridges, yes. In the woods, no. But
They
maybe
can.
doves.
The doves definitely. Pigeons
Yeah.
will kind of come and go. I've seen a few that will kind of, go through backyard areas. I know that they wander through my backwoods sometimes, but it's more the doves that will, and a lot of times like robins will as well, and they also like the open platforms.
So when I've looked into, I guess, different styles of birdhouses before, I think the size of the hole is important, and then the distance from the floor, and then I think possibly also the size of the floor of the house. I assume you've found some website that has that kind of information.
Yes, yeah. I've been going off of a few websites and a few books that I have that are official, like by bird experts, like How to Build a Birdhouse 101 kind of thing. For most of them that I read, a lot of the smaller bird species, like that you'll find that are more common, like titmice and finches and stuff, tend to like an 1.25 to 1.5 inch opening. And then kind of those bigger birds like the woodpeckers and the owls is where you'll get into needing a bigger nesting size hole or even a square hole that's just kind of a big opening. And then definitely for the smaller boxes, especially with like the house finches and goldfinches and titmice, you do kind of want that metal ring or some kind of a harder surface around the ring so it deters the woodpeckers.
What other questions or comments?
I would just say this page 5 is
Yeah.
more in line with what I think would work in the town forest, not to direct your artistic, but I like shiny, bright, colorful things, but I think in the forest, it might be a little bit off-putting for what our mission is.
Agreed.
That's
No,
my opinion.
Yeah.
Well, what do you mean shiny bright things? Because I wasn't sure. She said we weren't gonna really do that. So do you mean this?
Go back a page or two.
Do you mean the blue house? She said
Yeah.
She said not the color,
Okay.
but it was for the roof style.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I didn't miss that. It just looks like, was there another one? Maybe, I don't know, but just any of the natural materials.
Yeah.
And then even I had a question, even though I liked the dragonflies, I didn't realize those were going to be, go back to the dragonflies and the little,
Bird.
yeah, little birds. Not like the shiny gold. Those look like Christmas.
No, yeah, no, those won't be painted or anything. That's just kind of the that was more for photo
The
reference
design?
of the idea of using the pine cones kind of as the design, but I would leave them completely unfinished, unpainted, just so that they look kind of naturally grown almost.
And then the same with the, although I think a muted color of the dragonflies is nice, but then I can see those kind of breaking eventually.
Yeah, I might be concerned about what might eat that.
Yeah, so with all of those, there is a lot of the kind of statues can easily be treated with a resin, and they have non-toxic resins so that they wouldn't hurt any of the wildlife or anything that's around it. But that way it would have a lot of longevity and staying power, even in kind of the rain or, if they were like touched or crumbled by anything that's out there.
Oh, great idea. I love resin. I want to play with it so bad.
I was wondering about that too. Would they be somehow treated? And the timeline on this makes some of like the pieces for the dragonflies a little like those seed things aren't really.
Whirligigs? What are they called? The things you
Oh.
stick on your nose?
Yeah, we called them helicopters when we were
Helicopters.
they won't really be out. So I don't know if you'll have an alternative to that kind of thing, but if things of that ilk, I mean, you're saying like things along these ideas, not necessarily exactly this thing.
Right, yeah.
What else do people have for questions? Comments, concerns? if there isn't anything, Kim, what do you need from us further?
From here, if everyone likes the way things are looking, and this is kind of the approved, we're thinking plan of action, I would love to basically start building right away. I have one prototype downstairs that is currently drying, so I don't think I can bring it up to show anyone, unfortunately. But I've already started to build at least one so that I have kind of a feel of what I'm looking for, and hopefully, you know, a nice product for everyone. And then I'd love to just come and walk through the forest, and maybe if somebody could kind of accompany me to maybe even, I don't know, point out any locations that you think might be good locations for things. Because I think walking through the forest, I'll be able to see myself kind of where my eye finds like, oh, this might be a good spot, but I'd love to have another opinion from the committee just to be able to say, like, we also like that.
Do you
So
like the snowshoe? Excuse me.
Oh, go ahead. What?
Do you like the snowshoe, Kim?
I don't have a pair of snowshoes, but I would love to.
Because it's a great time to do that now.
Is the trail trampled down at all from people snowshoeing and walking?
I went out there this weekend, and there's a monorail, like a very tiny single track in some of it, but some of it's not. And I think it's easier to do it with snowshoes, just in, you know, before, if the snow was still there, for example, this weekend. But as it melts, it'll be easier without snowshoes. But right now it's hard without them.
Yeah, I don't have snowshoes either, but what is your availability to meet with us, and how critical is it that it be sooner rather than later if that's more for installation?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be right away. It can definitely be later because it's more of a before installation. So it can definitely be later for sure. That way, especially, we have a little bit more time so that hopefully some of the snow can melt and there's not so much bulk that we have to trek through, you know, whether you have snowshoes or not.
Yes, I'm sure that some of us would love to walk through there with you. We like to do those kind of site walks. I'm hesitant to schedule it if the trail isn't that great right now. And
Yeah.
I could send some pictures and some video maybe that might be helpful to kind of get you started, just to have some visuals, if that's help. And the pictures could be of when there's actually leaves on the trees and stuff like that, where it's a little bit more
Sure.
interesting. So I'm happy to put something together over the weekend.
Yeah, I would
Yep.
love that.
I think it's important that Kat be one of the people on the walk because she's familiar with where some trails may be going in that aren't quite so evident right now. And also, even once the snow melts, believe you'll be benefited by having everyone some good, like mud boots.
Oh yeah, it's very wet in spring. True.
So
Definitely.
all right, so if there's no further question and you're feeling on top of your timeline and everything with our approval, I think that
Can I ask a quick question? Sorry. What kind of things are you, I guess, thinking about doing for the educational materials? And then, and I also saw that, you know, which is definitely very reasonable about us giving credit to you. And I guess I assume that just means like if we use the materials in the future, that we would just say something like created by Kimberly Berry, something simple like that.
Yeah. So yeah, basically just super simple for like the accredited stuff. Pretty much people with commissioned art standardly just do like a, you know, like crafted by local artists, Kim Berry or such and such, small blurbs. For the educational products, I was thinking we could do a variety of things. It would kind of vary, I guess, the level depending on what could be made originally, or if it was like signage that you know, you wanted more like to be printed professionally somewhere, you know, like that was made like a plaque kind of, then that would maybe take longer. but at least for the birdhouses and for the statuettes, I had loved to an idea of maybe a little plaque that said, a small little something. Like for the statuettes, if it was a salamander, it could say like spotted salamander and have a little tiny description of it. And then for the birdhouses, I thought it would be a really cool idea either to do this virtually, that people could then scan a code and find it on a website, or printed paper fact sheets that could be in like a little box that people could take, having fact sheets for each of the different birdhouses that kind of says this bird nests here, and it can tell you a little bit about the bird. And then maybe at the bottom it can say, if you're looking to build this birdhouse, look into this kind of material. Or it could have a fun thing like the dragonflies of saying, if you want to make this at home, here's how to do it. Go check out the Southborough website for more info. And then that way it kind of is not only educating, but it's kind of also pulling people back in and saying, hey, go do this other thing on our website and reestablish and come back and still be a community and keep engaging.
If there's any way to include information on the birds or other critters that we're talking about, on their ability to eat lots of mosquitoes, that would be very valuable information to be sharing. Here's beautiful dragonflies, and they eat 2 gazillion billion mosquitoes a minute, and you want to keep them, and they're so much fun. Although the ones you make and these artistic ones don't eat mosquitoes, so
Unfortunately not.
but I think that's part of a message this committee's been trying to share, that we need to have natural mosquito control.
Yeah, and I guess I hadn't gone quite this far in thinking about the educational materials, because I think we don't want to be overwhelmed by signage and things for people to scan, or paper that then might be become litter on the land. I can see a lot of that stuff living, obviously, like on the stewardship part of the website, so that but then it's like, how do you connect those dots, right, without the QR code? Or so how do we connect those dots without getting a lot of signage and a lot of codes? And
What if it was just one?
but if it was
Just one to our website, webpage, and I'll just say the Open Space Commission used our webpage for the Winter Sow project, and we've never done that really before. So it just sort of was there, like we don't use ours. And I don't know how many hits it got, but I think a lot. And I think we could do that, but I'm wondering if there's, and this may not be part of your project, so I'm not giving you a task that's not part of your project, but if it fits into your education piece, that if you can, even have a document on what would be a plaque, but not a plaque, that we can post a picture of the dragonflies and then link it in our website, that picture to the info. Or, you can say that's beyond the scope of your project, and we can do that in the future if we ever get around to it or find someone to do it. So that's why I'm asking if it fits into your work. That would be cool.
I think there are definitely ways that we can kind of at least start to, even if necessarily my project didn't finish it entirely for you all, depending on the timeline. But I think definitely we can at least start something for it. I'd love to be able to connect it, especially on the website, so that way there is kind of that paperless option, and you're not having to worry about signs everywhere and litter everywhere. If we did go the route of in-person signage, I would love them to be just like tiny little signs, because again, like I don't want them to be necessarily, in my opinion, big either. But I almost think just like small plaques almost that said, just what the statue was, and then maybe the birdhouses could be on their own. And then, you could easily have like a scan QR code at the trailhead or something that says, or even the website, just link that says, for more information, look on our website.
Yeah, actually, I just thought of something. What about like something kind of like what's at like, botanical gardens or garden in the woods where it's like kind of a single metal post, a very narrow little post that goes in the ground, and then it has like a tiny little square of, I guess, metal, probably, or wood. And then that would probably be big enough for you to have like a QR code. So that there's, yeah, and then maybe the QR code is just going to like one main document on the Southborough Stewardship.
I think it would work
Website.
with one instead of ones all over the place.
Okay, with one
When
like
you
at the end.
enter it, you're now entering our, what are you calling it? The town forest, artistic, bird box, dragonfly housing, whatever it is, right?
Mhm.
Make up a name for it and then
Installation.
and use the QR code for more information about all this artwork and the natural history behind the critters, whatever you want to call them. Because typically when you have those little signs, if you have any information on them, I've found it increasingly difficult to read any of it at like Garden in the Woods, and
So maybe a,
might be good for little kids.
We
Yeah.
might want to do it on each side, like, the main trailhead and Woodland, because people are going to access it from different options. And the post could be wood also, to Jenny's point. Like, I've been in some trails recently that they just used for their post and for their signage, they used the natural, wood in the area that made that. Now, sustainability will be an issue, but perhaps we could use something like cedar.
And we can also advertise it to Sudbury Valley trustees that has a link. Not that this project is on their trail, but they could advertise it with something to do when people are visiting the Turin Wildlife Habitat.
right, and once
Yep,
it's
more PR.
installed, we could be ready to go also if we have that stuff lined up on the website and the QR codes and everything. We could get an article in My Southborough that points out those things, so people go maybe having visited the website already. Oh, look at the kind of things we're going to see there. We can look for these things, and it gives them more of a plan.
I like it. And to Freddie's point about Sudbury Valley trustees, so they host a brochure for the Turin, and they also include a little blurb on the town forest. I mean, there's no harm in asking them to add a little sentence to say, by the way, this artistic, this trail walk is available and you can access it here, or something like that. So that would be something that they maintain, but it would also drive people there.
I don't know if they have a live website, but they're not likely to update a static trail map. But I think they could do a blurb about it in one of their they have SVT outdoors or something, outdoors this week. So we could actually have a kickoff walk
Yeah.
as an event once it's
Oh,
done.
yeah.
So Dan Simpson, who manages the map and the brochure, had reached out about an update on the map. So that was based on our GIS project last year. So they don't update it often, but as they do updates, it could be something that they might,
We just want to be sure how permanent it is.
Oh, it's going to be permanent.
Says Kat, who will make sure it is. So I'm convinced now.
That's going to stand guard on the statues.
Trail cameras.
Don't you walk off with that salamander.
I'm watching you.
Hidden cameras.
The woods have
Motion
eyes.
detecting cameras.
Yeah.
I'm
We
just
need some
recalling
eyes.
there's this weird angel little plaque that has made its rounds around Breakneck Hill, and it's almost like somebody made it out of plaster of Paris or something and painted it, and you'll be going for a walk and there she is. And then the next time you're somewhere else and there she is. I have no idea. It's just kind of fun, but
Yes,
Does she get staked in the ground? What is she? How
no,
is
no,
she-
she's just a flat
like
plaque
a
propped up
wall
against.
hanging.
Yeah, but plopped up against, leaning up against a tree in the woods. and you look over and there
But
she is.
sometimes I've seen her up in a tree too.
She's all over she's been everywhere.
Oh, that's fun.
It was part of a GPS hunt type thing.
Oh, like a geocache thing.
Geocache, exactly, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well,
That's-
she's gone way beyond that project,
Oh, yeah.
I would think. It's been years.
She's
but-
our guardian angel.
Oh, I've never seen her. I'm gonna go look now.
Yeah, you won't find her when you're looking. You'll come across her when you don't expect it, which is kind of fun. Not to say we want people to take your artwork and hide it, but
We'll put a sign on the website that says, hey, if you're going to take and move the art, you have to at least move it somewhere else in the forest so it stays there.
Yeah,
don't give them any ideas, I think, but
I know. I don't know that we'll be able to prevent that, but any ways you can think of to secure them without.
I just read a land trust that it was putting in bike racks and was talking about how they had to cement them into the ground because and somebody else said, one person had said, one land trust had responded, we use this and it looked pretty good. And somebody else goes, really? You don't have people stealing them? I'm like, who's walking off with a 6-bike professional? So, stuff happens. I just need one for my house, I guess.
College kids, that's who.
Yeah.
All right.
One other thing.
Yeah.
Do we have any, I guess the committee, any concerns or are we wanting, I mean, I'm sure Kim will be checking with us again before it's completed. If we wanted note that we would like to take a look at, I guess, any scientific materials just to kind of make sure that they're, I guess, accurate from our point of view.
I think we'd want one final looky-see before it was a permanent installation.
Definitely. I can send the committee, if I can send it through you, Ms. Greenleaf, I can send the committee updates, every 2 weeks or so even of material that I'm making as I'm crafting it, just visuals. I can send you video clips. I have a sample, I think, of a fact sheet that I made for another class that's could be like a template sort of for a fact sheet that I can send everyone right after this meeting. And definitely I can send things as I go because I definitely want people's feedback and want to hear how everyone's
Can you, Melissa, put
liking
up
or not liking it.
the timeline? Is there a timeline here? Because I'm thinking we probably don't want something every 2 weeks. I mean, maybe others do,
I
but
think our concern is mostly those printed materials. Like we're excited about you exerting your knowledge of the needs of the birds and interpreting that with your artistic sensibilities. I think what Jenny was referring to is anything written that's then science for the lay people, right, Jenny?
Yeah. And we definitely, and we appreciate your willingness to, go the extra mile, but I don't think we want to be too onerous on you with updates.
especially when
either.
it's not something we're likely to get a chance to look at that, all of us to get a chance to look at that often.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're at, I'm sorry, I have you guys on top of the spreadsheet. What week are we at?
We are now, today's February 20 something.
24th.
So is this the pitch presentation? I'm not sure how I'm reading this correctly.
No, that I think was the last meeting, right?
Oh,
Yeah, the pitch happened. So now we should be into,
contract
trying to get his-
finalized.
yeah.
Yes.
So this was the first part of that. And Melissa, if you can scroll over, how far out, when do you expect to be done? Oh,
So
that's out there in May.
yeah, so I was hoping for my last week of my graduate program is the first week of May, and I can go past that as long as I have, some sort of picture deliverable for them. But ideally, I was thinking kind of, especially if you wanted to do like a site walk opening event, like the week of, I think it's April 24th or last week of April is Earth Day, the 22nd. So I thought maybe like for that week of Earth Week or Earth Day week could kind of be a fun, event time to plan around, shoot for around then.
So I think I love that idea, but I also want to remember we're still in COVID. As much as I'd like to forget that. So we might want to plan 2 scenarios, one where we have a kickoff that's sort of self-guided. And we don't have to decide that now, but I don't know what the numbers or the limitations are on how many people at once can come. Do you know, Kat, right now?
No, I don't, but it's only looking better and better.
It is, but as we know, things change.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying-
So I'm just putting that out there. Like, I'd love to see a full, because we missed the 50th anniversary of Earth Day last year, celebrating it. And the Open Space Commission anyhow is thinking we'll be doing a delayed, party. Townwide, lots of organizations. So this could be the Stewardship Committee's event.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm
Yeah.
just
so
throwing
it's-
out there, it might need to be a little bit more like self-guided, just
Exactly.
potential.
Yeah.
And we don't have to just, I think we'll know a lot more in a few weeks, right?
Yeah.
Also, so maybe there's like a midpoint between now and then, or the point when you have those printed materials in some sort of reviewable shape that might be a good next check-in. And we would love it if you documented your progress and pictures and stuff, if that's something you have to do for your program anyway, because it could be kind of a fun thing for any website part of it too, to show the artist at work in addition to what, those things, what the art actually is.
Yeah, I can definitely do that. I'm thinking maybe week 12 or week 13. How does that sound for, maybe like the first week in April, last week in March, to kind of send a first copy of what paper products might look like?
Melissa, can you scroll down a bit so I can see what's underneath? Or is that the end of it? Oh, that's better. So yeah, that works for me.
Yeah. Yeah, why don't we you can aim to get us that stuff in that window, and then we'll schedule a meeting so that we can talk about any feedback, and if you're able to attend, great. Otherwise, we'll get it to you in a markup. All right, any remaining concerns?
Nothing for me. Everything looks really good.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Kim, for all your efforts, and we will hear back from you in a couple of weeks with those draft printed materials, and then we'll also be, I guess we can, once the trails are in better shape from the snow melt, we can reach out and talk about when it might be a convenient time to do a site walk with you.
Sounds great.
All right. Anything else from any of the rest of the committee for Kim?
Nope. Thank you.
Thank you so much for providing a thorough proposal and examples.
Yeah, it's really fun to look at all that. Thank you. All right, so we can move on, I think, to the next item on our agenda. You're welcome to stay, Kim, or you can go on with your evening other events.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye. The next item is the town forest. Do we have anything further on the town forest for tonight?
No, nothing more.
Okay.
I can plan, there's no word of the Choate Fund grant. I did speak, I guess I do have a little bit. I met with the Trails Committee. We had our meeting and proposed the idea of partnering with Stewardship, having Stewardship lead that grant. And they were open to that idea as well, and incorporating some funding where the Trails Committee would come into play is incorporating some funding for some dog waste signs throughout town that we feel like we need, and we want to kind of have a bit of a initiative this year in helping educate folks about the watershed and protecting it against dog waste. So they were open to that. And so the next step is to just get quotes. So for our next meeting, I'll have quotes ready for some signage, and the idea, the proposal would be, I think, just doing plain wood signs with names. So I can have quotes for that available for us, and a rough draft of the maybe of the grant, kind of an outline of that proposal, as well as an idea for the scavenger, the introduction to the town forest. So I think that's going to kind of work into this as well, because we were going to have a naming contest, or not a naming contest, but invite the public to kind of participate. And as spring rolls out, it can all be integrated into this, what we're doing here. So I'll have something more framed out for us.
Yeah, it's the year of town forest.
So is there potential that the art project will influence the trail names?
I guess it could.
Dragonfly Way.
We talked about, and I thought it was a really good idea, incorporating some of the, like witch hazel lane, that type of stuff. Some of the plants and trees that are currently in the forest. So I guess we could think about, because there's not that many trails, right? Like
Birdhouse Boardwalk.
Yeah, it depends. I guess it depends on, where we put stuff. It could definitely incorporate. That's a good thought.
Well,
Although,
it depends on the timing also, right? Of like if you do your walk before or after she installs.
Yeah, I was thinking that might be a little tricky. That's what I was hesitating when I was thinking. So I think it's a good idea to think about, and so maybe doing a little bit of that thinking offline and seeing how some of that might line up.
I'm thinking, in my mind, I'm thinking it could influence it, but I don't know that it's a good idea to have it be the trails. I come back to when they named the Breakneck Hill trails after apples, and then the apple trees are gone. Although that's historical, but you don't want to have Birdhouse Way when there's no birdhouses left in the future. Or, I mean, these aren't permanent. It's more likely that the natural vegetation will be there, hopefully. But I threw it out there to consider, not to say I was in favor or against. I just how it would work into the timeline.
And I don't want to get greedy with the statuettes, but they're so cute. I'm wondering if they're not that labor intensive, if we could do duplicates of a couple so we could have replacements if we needed to, but that's probably a little out of scope.
I was thinking it would be great to have like buckets full of those dragonflies so kids could take one, kind of play with it as they walk on the trail and stuff.
Yeah, like the angel. That's what I was kind of getting at.
Yeah, like
But
a bucket on each end full of.
maybe we could have an event where, so I'm thinking big scheme, like we have lots of resources, an event where kids make them and then go out in the forest and place them.
Yeah.
So much you can do. As far as the scavenger hunt, I just sent you a link from Lincoln. They have a GPS scavenger hunt going on now through the end of the month. I didn't send it ahead of time, but it might be just for us for next year to look at.
Oh, I thought you meant I was actually going to go out and have some fun with it.
You were going to go with this one here is they have a contest and there's prizes, but it's a private land trust too, but you take a selfie and submit the selfie on the things you find.
Yeah, I've done scavenger hunts from my office back pre-COVID at the holidays where they would do a riddle and they'd have to solve the riddle and go to that place and take a selfie and the teams would compete.
Don't we still have a good scavenger hunt out there?
Yeah,
If
it's
you
still
may,
on the website. Mhm.
I mean, we could, that just needs promotion to get people out to do it.
It might be geared more towards spring and summer.
Yeah.
but
Just
leaf
don't want to
pink-
forget it because you put time into it.
It's
Yeah.
up- Yeah, under news and announcements. I think.
And I don't know if I mentioned it to the committee. I think I mentioned it to Kat, but what's the name of the organization? Metro West Conservation Alliance has, I think it's them, or it might have been through SVT, one of the two, is creating a shared volunteer program.
You said, I think it was SVT, you said. Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
I get confused. We're all SISMA, SVT, MCA. What it is there, it will be like if you need a volunteer, you go there and see who's, you post that you have a project and other volunteers might be looking for something to do. And if you are a volunteer, you can go there and see if your town doesn't have anything available for you to do, you could maybe go to another town and do something. Creating a bigger network of volunteers.
Awesome.
So I don't know I think that's more for the Trails Committee, but certainly something in the future we could look at. It always comes down to managing volunteers. If you don't have a
Right.
project, it's a project.
Anything else on that? So we're kind of still watching for that grant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you guys see I sent around all the different rules that we have posted in different places to your email? To make it easier to see what we might want to update or change.
Does does Melissa have that to put on the screen? Is that possible?
Yeah, just give me a second.
Okay.
Yeah, I did. I'm pretty sure I sent it to everybody.
So I did look at it, and the first paragraph, is that something you just jotted out, or is it actually living somewhere?
So that first block is just cut and pasted from our existing old management plan under authorized uses, though I did correct an unfortunate misspelling. And so that's where that comes from. So it's just cut and pasted. And then the bottom that says recent postings, December 20, are those yellow signs that we put up. One calling for masks and the other one listing some prohibited stuff. So there's lots of overlap. It's just things are expressed differently and they are not exactly the same in the yellow signs from the bottom to what's from our rules. Like dumping isn't on the yellow signs, removing vegetation, etc., isn't. Off-trail use without snow cover isn't. But the idea of motorized vehicles, horses, fires, and alcohol is, but then drones from the bottom isn't on the top. So probably, yeah.
Is one of these from the Conservation Commission's website? Because I believe they have a list as well.
Oh, this is Stewardship's website and Stewardship's plan. Is there another set of rules on conservation?
No, I think we just have the management plan posted as well, so it'd be the same document.
Okay.
All right. I wasn't sure where that
Thank you.
list the gentleman mentioned was. I'm not saying we have to do it right now, and I'm not talking, I know wordsmithing becomes a pain, but I didn't understand what the first paragraph said. It didn't, and maybe it's just me, it didn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, that was written years ago.
What's the breakneck, what's the, just the first sentence?
To guide the conservation commissioners as well as the stewards, Breakneck Hill Conservation Land.
What does the
Uh,
Breakneck Hill Conservation Land have need guiding? I mean, it sounds
Yeah,
like
I
it's
don't
an
know.
entity.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably just some sort of something that didn't get edited well, given also there was an unfortunate misspelling. So, yeah, I'm not in any way saying we have to be wedded to this language. It's just this is how it was presented in the last plan.
Right. I'm just suggesting that we might want to edit this.
Yeah, it should be revisited.
Yeah. Because it says only except when.
Yeah,
Like, what am I doing there?
yeah,
Go forward when you're going backwards.
yeah.
Type of
And it was
language.
probably cut and pasted.
Yeah,
you
we
know,
were working
into
hard
this
back then.
from a set of minutes that's 15 years old that I wrote. You know, who knows?
Well, no one's. It's just I think it's a good opportunity to look at it and come up with suggestions.
Yeah. So what do we want to do? Because like when you think about that, those nice yellow signs, like the bigger the list gets, the harder it is to have that on a sign. But it'd be nice if it, like, when we get to it'd be nice if everything was kind of always in one place instead of two different lists in two different places.
Agreed.
So creating one list with one agreed upon set of language describing it with a QR code that goes to that big list, and then the more important ones we think that are necessary. What yellow sign are you talking about? Am I
So
colorblind?
this is also on the website, but we did a yellow sign a while ago that bottom piece, it says prohibited, ATVs, by all those bullets at the bottom are the things on the yellow sign that is posted at, I believe, both trailheads at Breakneck Hill.
So that's the homemade yellow sign that you.
Yeah, it's, it's like laminated,
Right.
It's bright yellow.
Yeah.
Right. And that does have a QR code that takes you to the management plan itself.
Right. I was thinking we were making a new, like an official big yellow sign, and
Well, we can, if we agree upon what that list should be. So to me, like the drones and model planes and rockets and dumping and vegetation and off-trail use, those are the things that have to be reconciled. Or is there even other things that we haven't even thought of?
Like hours of openness, or when is it open? When is it closed? The one sign that's there now says no trespassing after dark.
isn't that the rule?
So that could be the simple rule, or you could say the dawn to dusk.
Dawn to dusk is, it's not the dawn so much, it's the dusk. People don't understand what dusk is. Well, okay, I have to look it up sometimes. Like, when is twilight compared to dusk? But I'm very clear on when it's dark.
Yeah,
No one has to explain that to me.
dusk. I thought dusk and twilight were the same,
Yeah, me too.
but I realized that
Google it.
I don't use those words nearly enough in my day-to-day vocabulary, I think. I'll meet you at twilight.
I mean, doesn't it just mean after sunset, but before it's dark?
Yeah. But if you simply say no trespassing after dark, which is what in the town of Harvard, they have that posted everywhere. and it's per order of the police department so that they could enforce trespassing after people were partying on their lands. And they suggested that wording, and that's how they have it posted on all of their conservation lands.
No trespassing after dark.
Correct, yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Mhm.
Yeah, me too.
What about off-trail use without snow cover?
Well, in the middle of the winter when there's no snow cover, who cares if they walk around? But I don't know. Off-trail use except during winter?
I
No.
mean, yeah.
Why? Why does someone need to go off trail ever? So what happens is even in the winter when people are walking off trail with their dogs, there could be an impact to wildlife that thinks they're in a dog-free zone. I don't know what kind of
The
wildlife.
trails are not going to be as visible in the winter.
Right.
What do you,
Snow-
in the winter when it's not snow covered, I've never seen people having trouble finding trails.
No, I meant when there's snow.
When there's snow, we don't care.
Right.
I think it's simpler to just say with, except for with snow cover, because
So what would that language be? Off-trail uses or on trail only except when there's snow?
That would work.
I believe, so I wasn't sure we were doing this tonight or going to look at it and all. I believe other land trust would have language instead of making it up. I don't care. I mean, if you guys want to go for it and get it done tonight, that's okay too. Maybe come up with a first draft.
Yeah. Well, because I think it was on the last agenda and I hadn't sent this around, so I was trying to get through it. I mean, those are the difficult ones. I think the other things just need more reconciling unless there's something we want to add.
So I think a simple way of putting it is just saying there public, whatever the language, public access is only on trails except when there's snow cover.
Or please stay on trails except when there's snow cover.
This is a requirement, so I don't think it's please. I mean, if you're putting a
Okay.
sign up, it's different than when you have your authorized allowable uses,
Okay.
in my mind. This is all please. Please don't have fires or drink alcohol. I mean, I think the trail is just as important.
I don't know if anybody's been up there recently. I have never seen so much use, off-trail use. There are snowshoe trails everywhere, back and forth, all over the place. It's really amazing.
Wow.
I haven't been up there, but I drove by and you could see from the road how well used people are going everywhere. And I think we saw kids sledding and
Yeah, it's never been this used in the winter.
That's fantastic.
thank you, COVID. Is there anything we think that is missing?
Well, I don't know. I was thinking of, I don't know if this makes sense or whatever. Pack in, pack out all trash, including dog waste and food scraps.
That's great.
Yep, I like that.
You might want to add masks to that list.
Oh, yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
I guess like what, and like specific items that we feel like we need to call out, whatever people think we need to call out.
I'm being more facetious. I mean, I'd like them to pack out their masks, but hopefully that's not going to be a reality for the rest of our lives. So
Right.
trash is trash. Yeah.
I think it's,
Yeah, that's good. Pack in, pack out, all trash, including dog litter.
Yeah, that's good. I like it.
where are we with the bark rangers? Is that something we want to revisit in the spring or in the
Yeah, we
fall?
probably should. I was so excited about that last year, and then I repeatedly dropped the ball on it because I kept getting hung up on how to play with the Adobe shells that they gave me, though Kat had volunteered to help me. Do you have Adobe expertise, Kat?
I do, and I have the software here at the house to be able to edit PDF Adobe's, so I'm happy to continue to offer to help.
You called them shells?
They're templates, I think you mean? Another word for it? Is that what you mean, Joyce?
I think so. I mean, he sent me this stuff where you can just drop in the specifics about Southborough, and I kind of didn't know how to do it. I just did not make any progress. So I can find that because I still have the emails from that gentleman who ran that thing. I think his name is Matt.
Yes, Matt. And he'll be around for a few more months if we need him.
And then what happens?
Well, they used to call it AmeriCorps. It might be something else.
Oh.
And he's like an intern, and he had a year and he got a second year. He's my indispensable contribution from SVT to the Native Pollinator Task Force.
Yeah.
And so we had him for 2 years, which is why we were able to do as much as we got done.
And so he's now going to have to look for a regular job.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah. And then SVT every year gets a new AmeriCorps. Is that what I called it before?
Mm-hmm.
There was another name, or I don't know if there's a new name.
TerraCorps? Is there another name like TerraCorps or something?
Yeah, there's something I don't know, but whatever. So he's one of those, and they come in for a year, and SVT wisely grabbed him specifically for a second year, but there'll be another one next year. But just because he has some familiarity with this project, it'd be good to us to look at it while he's still around if we had questions.
Sorry. Can I say another idea about the rules?
Yes.
Well, more for discussion. What about parking? Do we want to say anything
I
about
was
parking?
going to ask about that too. That was on my list. Like parking in designated area. I don't know. Do we need that?
Well, they're not really designated though, because there aren't lines, right? But do we want to say anything? Well, I don't know. I was gonna say something. It does say no motorized vehicles. I was gonna say something like, do we need to say no moving the chain? But it's motorized. The no motorized vehicles really should be. It should cover it. But I don't know. Should we say anything specific about where to park? Like, would this be a way to deal with, the ecology garden issue?
Well,
First of all of this, it's a good place to have some language, but none of this prevents any of the activities from occurring.
Right.
But I think maybe something parking in, you might want to think about it, official designated parking areas only, and not that long, picking some of that apart. But like, I don't think you want to write, you can't move boulders and throw them on top of plants.
Yeah. Well, I guess the question is, how are we designating the parking? Because there's not really. I mean, yeah, like the common phrase is parking in designated areas only. But I guess how are we designating the parking area?
I
Or is
guess,
that
I mean,
something we need
it's
to look at?
obvious that the gravel lots are parking, and
I'm
I,
hoping we can have this conversation bigger on the whole ecology area at another meetings. So I wouldn't want to define exactly where it is right now.
Okay.
Specifically, but that's me.
yeah, I was gonna queue it up at another meeting too, because it didn't make this agenda, so ecology and parking lot, and Freddie did share at some point recently some like fencing, like kind of DIY panels that you can build that I was looking into the last couple of days that are not that expensive. I just don't, I worry that they might get stolen, but
I think we can look at that at another meeting. I think you could come up with some language. I mean, what's wrong with when you're saying what's not designated, you have 2 parking lots. And if there's some kind of barrier that we put there, it's pretty obvious that's not designated parking. So like on the trailhead, parking on the lawn area or driving up over the wooden planks that are there defining it. You don't have to have marked spaces to be a designated parking lot.
Yeah. No, I think that comment was more like I wasn't having that in mind. So an easy placeholder is just to say parking in designated area only.
You might also include parking for conservation or community garden use only. There have been parties where people who live across the street have parked quite a few people in those lots.
Oh, really?
Construction workers, how often does that happen though?
Well, the construction workers are under control, but the people who live across from the main trailhead parking area have used that for parties.
During open hours?
yeah,
Yep.
at nighttime or
Yep.
day.
Well, both. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's, yeah,
At
that's,
nighttime, it's not allowed, so that takes care of that. But
Also, the people who do their lawn care over there have parked their trucks there too. So
So parking in designated areas for
conservation land use only.
conservation land use only.
yeah.
yeah, you don't have to add community gardens because that's included in conservation land
Conservation
use.
land's part of, yeah. You know, we have from time to time put up signs during the blooming season saying, don't pick the flowers, but maybe it's enough to say no, like the removal of vegetation, just don't pick the flowers. I think we even had some little signs that we would put out.
Yeah, I don't think you need to put that here. No removal of vegetation.
Yeah,
Or does it say anything? Wood, soil, animals, and the like?
yes, it does.
Yeah, I think we could take off and the like, but
I don't know what the like is.
I had fun thinking about what the light could be.
yeah, anything like natural.
Yeah, don't take our air.
Don't you dare take that angel.
Anything else missing? Jim, do you think that this discussion gives you enough to reflect in the minutes what the comprehensive list might look like that we could then review with the minutes?
I could put together a master list of rules, and then at the next meeting, we could just go down it and say yes, no, change it, whatever you want.
I prefer not in the minutes.
Yeah,
For
okay.
the minutes to say we discussed the rules and then have
Yep.
the separate document.
Yeah, that's good.
But can Jim make that separate document? I think that's the question, right?
Can you
Well, I'll
make,
just put a rough list, and then at the next meeting, we can go over the rough list.
Thank you, Jim.
Okay, great.
I didn't want it to fall on Joyce again.
No, that it's all right. It should fall on me a lot of times. Anything else on that? I think that's got us further than we got last time it was on the agenda, so that's good.
Were you going to try to fix the first paragraph too, Jim?
Of authorized uses?
Yeah.
I don't think we need the first paragraph at all.
No.
Maybe just a like sentence of the rules or something.
I think somewhere we need the point that any, I don't know if it's posted, not to be on the property, but that the statement about the permission for unauthorized uses need to be through the stewardship committee.
Oh, yeah, that's
the
the
Concom.
thing at the bottom. The
Yeah.
stewardship will review requests for unauthorized uses. Yeah. And make a recommendation to Conservation Commission. But I think they were going to defer to us anyway. The Conservation Commission will not approve any unauthorized activities until there's a recommendation from the stewardship.
Yeah, that I'm thinking not for our relationship with the Conservation Commission, but for anyone who goes to the page to look it up to know what their process needs to be.
So are you saying keep that language or?
Keep that somewhere there, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know that the top part needs to be in there.
Right, got it.
If you want to break the rules, then get permission first.
Well, no, but we do allow
Yeah,
Yes.
the research to go on, and
right. And
we did allow a
allow the
nighttime
tree workers to be in there and stuff.
full moon walk.
Yeah.
And if we ever do take John Wood up on his drone of the area, then that would be an example too.
Has anyone heard from him? Because we left it that he would contact me before he was going to do it, and then I never heard from him.
So I'm not sure that I don't want to say, I'll bring that up at the next meeting. I don't want to say anything out of, what's that saying? Out of school, out of turn, whatever.
Okay. Okay, so that's a plan for moving forward on this. Thanks, Jim, for assembling that in a separate document alongside the minutes. And then the next thing I had on the agenda was tree surveys. So we have this estimate, which is not a dollar estimate, but an estimate of trees that are salvageable around 56. But we need the count, the survey to get the better count for the trees that would come out, which my understanding was that we were, because I guess he had been out there again and said this orchardist had said more trees were salvageable than he originally thought. And if more becoming salvageable, that other numbers going down. And I thought we needed a more solid number for that. And so if we need to, or if I need to arrange to walk through there with him to get a count or whatever,
So I just reached out to him again because we were supposed to meet with him, and then it fell off our radar for multiple reasons, and then the snow. I think we can approach it differently now that we didn't get that grant.
okay.
And I was going to recommend that we look at asking, considering just doing the trees for the grassland habitat expansion for removal this year.
Oh, those ones at the top there.
And then where the south pasture has been expanded into grasslands, heading down to the
Trail.
to the pond.
Yeah.
on the left-hand side, we left a little grove up, and just having a limit of work there for us. It's late in the season to see if we can find that out and have him give us the number of how many trees would be remaining so we can get a quote on that, if that's okay. The other thing I think, depending, might be to get the autumn olives out. We want to get that out this, if we can, this winter. And then there would be a separate distinct project to take out the invasives along the edge of the
Tree line?
no, the wetlands.
Okay.
So that might involve tree removal, because some of those buckthorn and multiflora rose are a bigger removal project, but make that a separate. We had a lot of it wrapped into one big project, and we didn't get the grant, so we don't have to do it that way. So I was going to see what he said about that, and then just get some feedback, and if you're thinking of having another meeting soon, we could make a decision then.
Yeah, maybe we can pin that to our calendars sooner. And then I would queue up a decision on that. We can review the rules, and we could talk about the parking lot and ecology too. Okay, so
Is this under grant? What topic are we on? I want to be sure we're on our agenda.
yeah, we're still talking about the tree survey, and you're
Tree
saying
survey.
because we didn't get the grant, we can slice and dice that a little bit differently, how we're thinking about it, and make a priority to autumn olive, those trees to expand the grassland.
Well, it
And-
seems why I said the grassland is to get those out before the, if we can this winter, before the bobolinks show up.
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah.
And that seemed like a good way of making a manageable project for us right now.
Okay, so anything else on that then for near term?
I don't know how it was left before that I was going to meet with. I believe his name is Dennis, the orchardist.
Dennis, yeah.
And I'd like to say we had agreed to have him start doing work, but we were waiting because we needed the mow to happen before the tree debris got in the way. But I'm considering that we may not get a lot of the property mowed this year. I'm not sure how we handle, impact to wildlife with a early spring mow. I think we need to look into that. So I'm thinking have him just go ahead and start doing the pruning, and we'll just clean it up after the fact and do a mow after, August 1st. If that, I thought this out in my own head, so if that's okay with the committee.
Well, I was worried about finishing the mow too, because we've gotten so much snow, and even though there's no snow in the forecast now, it could mean a muddier spring as that melts, and that can be hard for mowing in before.
I was going to recommend if we can focus on the tree removal in the grasslands,
Yeah,
and if they can get a mow in or do some of it. Okay, I think we did it. I think we did some of it in March last year also.
yes, we did.
So it's possible, but you can't be doing it if it's
Yeah.
really wet.
Well, yeah, and we did get a lot of snow this year. I guess compared to last year, so.
So what I'm asking for is if I can connect with Dennis, if he's still on board, because he hasn't heard from us in a month or more, that to get a combination of him to start doing some pruning. We already decided we wanted to have that happen, and a count on the trees, and then to reach out to Twin Pines to come back on the mow. and then we can work with Melissa on an estimate on the trees.
Yeah.
Does that sound like a plan for everyone? And
Yeah.
if the orchardist is coming out, I don't think it's a site walk. He's just going to come out and
Do the
count
work.
the trees and work is what my recommendation is.
Okay. There was
If I get your
I
approval.
know we were aiming to have another site walk with him, and I think that's when he maybe came out without us or something.
Yeah, we were supposed to meet with him. He went out one day and then he was going to meet us the next day. And somehow, I'm not sure if there was an illness or something. We couldn't make it the next day.
Okay.
And everything came to a screeching halt.
Well, and anything on, I included grant applications in part because I didn't know what was that choke one, which we've talked about. Is there anything else to talk about near term here in our agenda? Okay, then the last item would be other business properly before the committee that we need to touch base on.
Town clerk has provided information that that's not a legitimate agenda item.
Yeah, I saw that. And I looked at a bunch of other agendas. And I thought it was only if you didn't have other substantive things.
No, it's if you have that agenda, you have to list what you might be discussing. Same thing with you might want to look at how you can do it. Like, you know how they often have chair reports? The chair
Yeah.
can give a report, but the committee can't discuss it. It's been used as a way of discussing things during a meeting that aren't on the agenda, so the public wouldn't have the ability to know you were going to talk about something. Not intentionally, but that's the outcome. And
Yeah, I did see that, and I guess maybe I didn't interpret it correctly because I read it and I remember then looking at a couple of different committees and their agendas and felt like I was within an okay place, but that's fine. I can take it off. I would maybe I will add like setting up our next meeting. So that wasn't on our agenda, but are we allowed to talk about scheduling a next meeting a couple weeks out?
yeah, that's allowed. But I think what's happened is people are used to doing their agendas a certain way, and it takes time for people to change. But I believe it was the Attorney General issued it wasn't just our town clerk, it was the Attorney General issued.
Yeah, and it is more towards, I think the initial goal was to get rid of just those report sections. So, obviously, if you guys do have something that comes up unexpectedly that cannot make it on the agenda, you can still discuss, if it's within that 48-hour timeline. But it's more also just for when they have the director's report, like on our agenda, we had conservation agent / scientist report. So, now instead of just having that one bullet and I just kind of give my spiel, I have to list the kind of things that I reasonably think that I'll be discussing. So for me, it's more trying to figure out, just putting in update on open projects or, just kind of the general things that you would update your board on. You just physically have to list them, even though it makes sense to you guys.
Got it. Okay. All right. So we're now at February 24th. If we want to target something maybe 2 weeks out for an agenda that will include most of the things, we'll revisit rules, it will revisit tree stuff, and then include ecology and parking, and maybe grants in case something has happened since then. So what do people's calendars look like? I don't know if you have a calendar you can throw up for us to see, Melissa. I'm going to try and open one on my.
Yeah, I can just open up my desktop. It's not that exciting, but.
So if there's a 3 meeting limit, for Zoom. Is that still true, Melissa, that you can have only 3 meetings at one time?
Yes, yep. Can you guys see the calendar over here? Or is it just the
Mhm,
agenda?
I can.
Yeah. So March 9th is out as an option, just putting that out there because there's already.
March 10th is out.
Is the 11th, that's a Thursday, is that a is that a commission?
Constitution.
Conservation, so we wouldn't have Melissa, but someone else could be our host.
Yeah.
I mean, the 11th is difficult for me.
Oh, because your husband's a
Yeah.
commissioner.
The next.
And
What about
I think the 8th is the 8th is out for me. I think that's planning board.
what about the 15th?
Works for me.
That's good for me, I think.
Monday, the 15th. Yeah, I think that works for me too.
It's the Ides of March and it works for me. So I'll right away try and reserve a Zoom thing.
Yeah.
And then I'll have, because that's like the thing, like if you pick a date and then all the Zooms are taken, then you're like, oh, I got to start over.
Yeah, I
So
just
maybe-
looked and that date looks clear right now, Joyce.
Okay.
Yeah, so maybe I'll do it after the meeting. I'll go put in the request for 6:30 p.m. on the 15th. And that gives me, I mean, I already have a very good sense of the agenda anyway, but
You don't have to have the agenda to book the room.
right. I don't have to do the agenda till a couple of days before. But I think this having these shorter agendas, we get through maybe a little bit more frequent meetings with shorter agendas is something to try for a while and see how that works for us. Anything else from anyone?
I just wanted to note one thing. I realized I'm in my work shirt, and I just wanted to note that I am not representing my work. I'm here in my personal capacity as a resident of Southborough and a member of the committee. So
Thanks for pointing that out,
I don't
Jenny.
think anyone would have noticed, but it's probably
Well, you
smart
never
to
know,
say.
but
You never know. Yeah.
yeah,
Don't want to
it's
get in
safer,
trouble.
safer to do that.
Yeah.
I have to admit, I didn't notice. Okay, anything else before we, is there a motion to adjourn?
Moved.
And a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor, Jim,
In favor.
Kat,
Yes.
Freddie,
Yes.
Jenny,
Yes.
and myself, yes. The motion passes. The meeting is adjourned.